Welcome back to Dead Good Book Reviews. I'm Judith and you're watching another What I'm Reading Right Now video. Today I'm filming this. This is the 11th of January. This is the second What I'm Reading Right Now video of the year. We're going to talk about what I have been reading, what I'm currently reading, what I'm going to be reading next, book hauls and new releases. Let's go. I finished 5 books since last time we spoke. I thought it was going to be more than that. I think I lost a little bit of momentum towards the start of this week, but it's fine. I can claw it back, and I did finish 2, frankly, enormous books that I'd started last week. So, in terms of page count, I think I'm doing great. First thing I finished was Mysteries of Thorn Manor, which is not a long book. It is, in fact, a companion novella to Sorcery of Thorns. I really enjoyed this. I thought it was very good. If you liked Sorcery of Thorns, I think you will like this. It reads very much like an extended epilogue, which is what it was intended to be. It is just like a kind of short, fairly romance-heavy, but there's enough adventure and spook to it that it's still fun. Story in the world with these characters, hot wizard boyfriend. It was a good time. It did exactly what I expected it to do, and I demand nothing else of it. I had fun. After that, I finished Animorphs 46, so that is now read and scripted. I just need to film the video. I am putting Animorphs on a little bit of a miniature hiatus, just so I can get my head back in gear on filming them, because I have a backlog of 2. By next week, I'll have a backlog of 3, and it just starts to feel a little bit overwhelming, so I've just put it to one side until I have the mental fortitude to film an Animorphs video, which should hopefully be maybe next weekend, I think. But the books continue to be read, and that's really the most important thing, kind of. I don't know, you could argue it either way. I finished my audiobook of Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson. This is the second book in the Stormlight Archives. I actually really enjoyed this. This is the second time I've really liked Brandon Sanderson's second book in a series. This was good. I had a great time with it. I think I got a little bit bogged down right at the start and right at the end, and I actually think I enjoyed the middle the most, which is interesting. I'm not going to talk too much about this because if you've got no context for the Stormlight Archive, me bringing up character names and events is a spoiler and also not super interesting. Suffice to say, this was like a really good epic fantasy. There were definitely some moments where I got that feeling that I got when I was reading Robin Hobb, where things just feel so unfair, and you just want to take the characters and be like, no, it's not okay that this is happening and we need to sort this out, but that doesn't always happen. But yeah, very much enjoyed, interested to see what's next in the Stormlight Archive, but first I am reading a different book in that series, which I will need to go and grab before we continue this video. First, however, I will tell you of the other 2 things I finished, one of which was a very boring book about data analysis, which I read for work. Not super interesting, but I'm tracking my reading and I did audiobook that, followed by finally finishing I say finally, it's only been a week and a half. I finished A Day of Fallen Night by Samantha Shannon. I really enjoyed this. I think it's very good. It is definitely one of those books that not everyone is going to love, partly because of the theme, partly because it's very high fantasy, partly because it's long. It's probably the biggest barrier, I think, to entry for this. I actually think that the beginning was more accessible than Priory of the Orange Tree was, but I suspect that is because I already read Priory of the Orange Tree, so I wasn't learning all these new names and things, so a lot of stuff felt very familiar. This is actually a prequel to Priory. It comes much, much before. I need someone to send me a timeline of like how far apart things are, but I'm not overly worried about it. I just decided to go into this remembering what I could remember from Priory and having a good time. I think in this case, I really enjoyed most of the middle. I wasn't super psyched about the ending. The beginning took a little bit of time to get into. The middle was good. I think my overall feeling was that I really liked the characters. I wasn't super sold on the overall plot. For a book that has incredibly high stakes, the plot feels very low down in the order of things. It almost feels slice of life of people whose lives are incredibly stressful, if that makes sense. Yeah, slice of royal and at the apex of war kind of things. Apex, is that the right word? I don't know. Overall, I thought it was an enjoyable read. I'm really interested to hear what other people feel about it. I would say if you liked Priory, you'll like this. If you haven't read Priory and you want to, now might be a great time to pick it up in preparation for the prequel. I did see something on Samantha Shannon's Instagram, I think, where she was saying that she thinks some of the writing of Day of Fallen Night is actually more accessible than Priory, which I thought was interesting, and you could technically start with either book. Current reads, I'm working on 3 things at the moment, the first of which is Lyrael, which is the second book in the Old Kingdom series by Garth Nix. This is a follow-on from Sabriel. We're following Lyrael, who's one of the Clare, who are like fortune teller kind of beings, people, a group of individuals. It's hard to explain the Clare in this kind of Old Kingdom where magic exists, and I know what happens because I've read it before, but if I explain what happens, then it's a spoiler, so I'm really enjoying it. I actually am having a good time. I'm splitting it between reading it on the library app on my phone, and I had an audiobook of it back in my way back when Audible library days, so I'm actually doing both. I do think it is less strong than Sabriel, partly because I don't really know why. It just feels less strong, but I'm still really enjoying it, and I'm liking reading these books back to back a bit more. It definitely helps it make more sense. The other thing that I have progressed since last time we talked, but I haven't finished it yet, I'm 120 pages into Dreadful Company by Vivian Shaw. This is a vampire book in the Greta Helsing series. She is a doctor to the undead. We're in Paris. There are vampires, but they're kind of like vampire posers almost. It's got a lot of humour to it in a way that I'm really enjoying. It's like almost kind of tongue-in-cheek at a lot of bits, but it is very high stakes, and I really need to dedicate some time to progressing through this, because I think it's going to be really quick to finish once I get going. I just need to put some time aside. And the last thing I'm reading is going to be way too shiny under these lights, but this is Shadows of Self by Brandon Sanderson. This is the second book in the second Mistborn series. I'm enjoying it. I am about 50 pages in, I think. 65. And this isn't my favourite series. I don't love the world. I think what's really helping me reframe it is something we were talking about in the Space Sirens WhatsApp group, where we were talking about Brandon Sanderson having like strong dad humour, and I think that definitely framing it that way is helping me read it, especially going straight from like his epic fantasy emotion stomping to I'm just a guy with a gun poking around places, and also a little bit of emotion stomping. But yeah, not too much to say on that. Gonna try and get halfway through that this week and finish it next week, so hopefully more on that anon. Still to read this week, I have a couple of things that I've barely kind of scratched the surface of. I have Terraformers by Annalee Newitz. This is going to be like a darkish, thought-provoking sci-fi. I've started it. I maybe read a chapter and then didn't progress it any further, so I'm going to probably sit down and try and read that in one big chunk on a day this week. I've got another Animorphs book to finish. That's going to be Animorphs 47, just because I'm trying to stick to at least the reading. Like, if I don't get to the filming until June, at least I'll have read them all by that point. And then I have one reread left for this week. This is my, if I don't get to it, it's okay. This is The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. I loved this when I read it the first time. I bought myself a hard copy. I'm really looking forward to reading this and just enjoying it in its written form. If I don't get to it, that's not a problem. Everything else is kind of an obligation read. So yeah, my project Use the Library More is actually going very, very well. If I finish L'Oreal and Shadows of the Self, I'll actually be 3 books in to that 12-book goal. So I might have to up that goal. We'll see how we go. I am trying not to buy books. However, the delightful Evie, who you absolutely know I'm going to link below and you should definitely go and check out, did send me 3 books in the Regency Fairy Tales series. This is Half a Soul, 10,000 Stitches, and Long Shadow. I've wanted to own these for a while, so thank you so much to Evie. Like, genuinely, this is very exciting. I have read these before, but now I can read them in their physical form, and like, this is going to be the kind of book where when my brain is absolutely frazzled, I'm just going to pull it off the shelf and take myself to a nice cozy place for an evening and refuel, and it's just going to be wonderful. So yes, these are going to find a nice happy place beside me somewhere. Right, now we're going to do new releases, which we've not done in a little while. There are quite a lot of them. I'm going to try and whiz through the ones that I don't know that much about, but just in case there are things that you want to order, see in your bookshop, all that stuff, I like bringing them up. It also helps me to remember what I haven't read yet this year. Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies is out. I didn't love it, but it was, you know, pretty good. If you like light academia, if you like a very grumpy enemies to lovers kind of thing, this might work for you. Shannon Maguire's Lost in the Moment and Found is now out. I absolutely love this. Check out the content warnings before you read it, but it is absolutely wonderful. I have a review video for this going up either this week or next week. It'll be with you very soon. Saint by Adrienne Young. I believe this is a book in the kind of Fable series. I haven't actually caught up with that series. I'm probably not going to. I think it's going to be too YA for me now, but if you're interested in reading that, it's out. The Daughters of Izdahar, I really want to get a review up for. I don't know if I'm going to just because of time constraints, but suffice to say, I read this book. I really, really enjoyed it. If you're looking for elemental magic, women's rights, history of modern Egypt, inspired book, really, really well written, would recommend, especially if you're a person who likes that kind of book where it's not YA, but if you liked YA, you would enjoy reading it. I think it'd be a good book for you. And lastly, another one that I haven't read that I'm trying to decide if I want to or not. So if you are reading it or if you have plans to, please do let me know. Hell-Bent by Leigh Bardugo, the second Alex Stern book. I read, is it Ninth House? Yes, I read Ninth House and I actually quite enjoyed it. I think it was very, very difficult to read for a lot of reasons. One of them being that they did not put content warnings in the book. I think it was intentionally meant to be quite dark, but it's kind of made me go like, do I want to read Hellbent? Is it going to be leaning more into that in a way that I don't enjoy? Dark academia questions that we all have. And I just haven't heard anyone talking much about it other than like Leigh Bardugo stans. So if you're not a Leigh Bardugo stan and you have read this or want to read it, let me know your thoughts, please. That's all my new releases chat. That actually wasn't too bad. A lot of them I have read and could talk about in detail. I'm trying to get back into the habit of filming rapid fire reviews for some of the new releases that I'm reading at the moment, so hopefully I'll have more stuff for you in the future, at least in YouTube short form, so I can summarise my thoughts, maybe. What have you been reading? What What have you been up to? Please do let me know down in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. While you're down there commenting, if you haven't already, please do subscribe. It makes me feel loved and appreciated. You can also follow me on social media. Come hang out on Discord where we have chill chats about books. I want to say a huge thank you to all the ghosts who support me over on Patreon. They support the channel and in return get early access to videos, bonus content, live streams. It's all there. You can check that out in the description below if you're interested in joining their number. Thank you so much for watching. That's all from me, and I will see you in the next one. It's gonna be some bloopers now. We're going to talk about what I have been reading. We're going to talk about what I'm currently reading. We're going to be talking about current reads I am working on. Come on, take me to the homepage.